This clip is brought to you by SaveWithConrad.com.
But before we get there, you and the rest of the Horsemen have an issue where you're challenging a 5-on-1 beatdown. Well, let's take a listen to this because this is one of my favorite moments. This is from Clash 2, and I don't know why I remember this so well. I wasn't even watching live at the time. I didn't become a wrestling fan until much later that year. I shouldn't say much later, a handful of months after this, I was a wrestling fan. But going back and watching this, I've probably seen this clip, I don't know, 15 times. Here it goes once again. The Horsemen have a little surprise in store. Let's take a listen.
And we're going to try to have a few words with the total package, ladies and gentlemen. Without a doubt, he has the opportunity to make wrestling history on Sunday, July the 10th at the Baltimore Arena. Lex, hey, come on, hey, come on. Get some help out here. Come on. Stay back. Somebody get some help. Somebody get some help. Come on. Yeah, nothing. Yeah, let's tough guy. We gotta get out of this. Let's go to a break.
So there you see at the Night Center there in Miami, this is Clash of the Champions 2. Lex Luger pulls up in that limo, hops out wearing all white. And then what do you know? The Horsemen issue a beatdown. Everybody's in a tuxedo except for Barry Windham. And if you've done a Horseman meet and greet in the last 10 years, that's probably not a surprise that Barry's the only one who didn't get dressed up. But what do you remember about that moment?
Lex got weenie dogged.
Yes, he did.
You know what weenie dogged is, don't you?
I've heard JJ Dillon tell the story that this was one of those moments where Lex Luger was still relatively new in his wrestling career and had not yet ever done the honors of, I believe the phrase is getting color. And if we have a white suit and a white tuxedo and a white shirt and a beat down in a parking lot from the Horsemen, well, it probably makes sense that it calls for that. And you now, with the benefit of knowing what I'm looking at, I believe JJ was asked, would you mind helping him out? So he went over and helped him out, and well, the beatdown continued. But this is a big moment for Horseman history and certainly for Lex Luger here, is it not?
Well, I'm sure JJ was happy to comply.
Sure.
I was certainly glad to do my part to pound a knot in Luger's ass at that particular point. That was one of those points in time that people, like you said, you weren't firmly entrenched as a fan yet, but you remember that.
I do.
It's one of those 10 things that, you know, when we do these signings and stuff and just, you know, talking to wrestling fans, you know, in general, that's one of those things they remember. Hey, you remember when you beat up Luger? I remember when we went back to, you know, that particular building, the Night Center with AEW, not too far back for the first time, brought a lot of memories back. Yeah, that would have been the first time, you know, I would have been back there since we did that. It was one of those things that you knew you were going to get a lot of mileage out of. You were going to get some heat because, you know, the fans were starting to gravitate to Lex. And it was just one of those things that stood out. It was an old-fashioned mugging, and people remember it.
Was Luger happy it was over? Was he, I mean, just talk me through, because again, I think sometimes we just assume when we talk about Lex Luger, well, here's this grizzled veteran, and certainly he became that. But in this era, man, he's still a little green, right?
Green, pretty, worried about his looks.
All that.
You know, hair had to be right, collar had to be flipped up. perfectly color contoured on his outfit. I mean, you know, Lex had his shit together as far as his presentation of the total package, that's for sure. And I'm sure he did not like there's an old saying we have in the business, hey, you know, grit your teeth, mate, grit your teeth. Sometimes you got to bring it a little more than you normally do. And that was one of those cases where we all had to bring it. And it was one of those, if I'm Lex Luger, I'm knowing this is going to be snug and it's going to be violent. And, it is what it is. So you just apologize whenever you can and you do what you got to do. Those are the kind of things where that camera is right on top of you. And that is as close, those type beat downs are as close to being 100% legitimate as you could possibly be in our business.
Do you know when you're doing a segment like that? Because we've talked about a handful of them here, when you guys attack Dusty in the parking lot and things like that. Do you know when you do it, like as soon as it's done, hey man, that was special? Or does it just feel like another day?
Nah, they can't all have that, because it's a funny thing, Conrad, you have, when it suddenly sinks in to people that, hey, there's 5 guys pounding on this one guy. And it goes from excitement and screaming to, hey, wait a minute, Jesus Christ, there's 5 of them. This guy don't have a chance. Then they start to get mad. Then they start to get nauseous and they get quiet. And it's when the audience goes from screaming their lungs out to realizing he's not going to get out of this. This is going to end badly. When they get quiet, that's when it gets dangerous, because that's where the pocket knives come out. That's where the batteries start getting thrown from the upper deck. That's when all the bad stuff. So when a crowd gets quiet, start looking around, because somebody's coming over the rail.
Well, you guys were creating magic there. I'm curious, was that recorded the night before or earlier in the night? It's dark, so it just feels like it would have been the night before.
You know what? I don't know.
Hey, it's Conrad Thompson. Thanks for checking out the podcast here on YouTube. Be sure to hit the subscribe button and the notifications bell so you get a notice anytime we upload some new content. And go save yourself some money right now. If you're in a 30-year loan or you have credit card debt, it's not a matter of if I can save you money. It's a matter of how much. Find out right now for free at savewithconrad.com.